Hello, everyone. My name is Diane, and I'm an admissions representative with Kansas State University Online. I want to start by thanking everyone for joining us here tonight to learn more about our academic advising programs. I'm joined by the program chair, Dr. Christy Kraft, Associate Professor Wendy Troxel, and Program Assistant Pam McGlynn. Dr. Kraft and Wendy are going to spend roughly the next 30 minutes giving us a presentation about the program, and then we'll spend the last 10 to 15 minutes answering questions. Throughout the duration of this presentation, we will be monitoring the chat feature and answering questions as they're being asked. Some of your questions may be saved until the end for Dr. Kraft and Wendy to answer. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kraft and Wendy now.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you, Diane and Brittany, for all the behind the scenes work and putting this together. And here we are, some of us, pictures of some of us here. Dr. Troxel and I are in the middle there. We're thrilled to be able to spend some time with you this evening, answering questions, hopefully getting you excited about our academic advising programs. And Pam McGlynn is behind the scenes. She's our program assistant, and she's going to be helping with the chat. So welcome. Hopefully this, like I said, becomes a real productive time for all of us this evening as we talk about our programs. I also want to give a special welcome on behalf of the Dean of the College of Education at Kansas State University. Her name's Dean Mercer. So welcome on behalf of Dean Mercer. Our academic advising programs are housed in the College of Education in the Department of Special Education, Counseling, and Student Affairs. Dr. Troxel.
Hi, welcome everybody. And we got still people coming in, so somebody's admitting them. Awesome. Welcome. I'm Wendy Troxel. I am an associate professor in the Department of Special Education, Counseling, Student Affairs, and also the director of the NACADA Center for Research at Kansas State University. And many of you probably are NACADA members. Some of you may not be NACADA members or may not have heard of NACADA, but NACADA is the global community for academic advising. And so NACADA used to stand for the National Academic Advising Association, but we are about 42 countries strong, about 14,000 members around the world. So now it's just NACADA, like Cher or Beyonce or something. So it's just NACADA. It doesn't stand for anything. It's NACADA, the global community for academic advising. And NACADA is a professional association focused on the work of academic advising in colleges and universities around the world, and a lot more similarities than differences across the world of higher education. We have a lot of professional development programming, conferences. This is our region season this spring. We're hosting 5 conferences, virtual conferences for 10 regions of North America and the territories. Of course, we have partnerships with a lot of international other associations like the United Kingdom Advising Tutoring Group, LVSA, the Netherlands, Australia, China, Middle East, and it's a wonderful community. And NACADA is housed at Kansas State University and has a very strong connection with the College of Education at Kansas State. And so it's a wonderful kind of association university partnership. And so the graduate programs that you'll hear about gets great support from NACADA. NACADA gets great support from the graduate programs and a lot of interaction between the two. Many of you are probably not yet academic advisors, and many in our certificate programs and in our master's program in particular are individuals who may be considering getting into academic advising. It's very much a profession. Academic advisors work in a variety of environments all over the world. Everything you can think of related to higher education encompasses those working in academic advising, and it's called a lot of different things. Sometimes it's academic coaching, sometimes it's personal tutoring. So in the UK, personal tutoring is very much consistent with faculty advising in the United States, for example. So lots of different names for it, but really it's about professional educators who interact with every single student in higher education at every level, at every major, and every moment from beginning to end. And it really is the most amazing collaborative deep dive position. And one of the things that I do with the Research Center is really promote the work of scholarly advisors. You can be a scholarly advisor without being a researcher. There's theory, there is literature base, and we consider ourselves professional educators in that way. So I'll talk a little bit more later about one of our graduate programs, but turn it back over to Dr. Kraft.
Thank you. So just a brief overview of the development of our programs, and then we'll dig right into the details of those, because I know that's what many of you are hoping to hear. Back in 2003, so it's been quite a while now, is when we first developed our graduate certificate in academic advising. It was widely popular, widely received, and so we knew there was a need, and we developed a master's program then in academic advising in 2008, just 5 years after that. And it's just very recently when we launched our new PhD in leadership and academic advising program. And so you can see the time frame of the development of these programs. We're really excited about how they've developed over the years, and they continue to be, the certificate in advising programs have been around for a while, so they continue to be widely sought after programs. And we're hoping the same will be the case. So far, there's much interest in the doctoral program. We're really excited about that, and Dr. Troxel will share a little bit more about that a little bit later. So we're really excited about all of these. Here's a picture of Anderson Hall at Kansas State University, just to give you a glimpse into the campus, even though these are online programs. Here you go. Here's a glimpse into Kansas State University. I'm going to share briefly about the graduate certificate in academic advising. I don't know, perhaps you all are like I was, maybe not, but one way that I realized that a graduate program was what I was interested in was by looking at the coursework in a graduate program. I actually looked at a textbook of someone who was in a graduate program that I was interested in to see if that's what I wanted to do. And so hopefully by looking at even just the names of the courses here, it'll pique your interest in the graduate certificate. These are the 5 classes that are required for our graduate certificate program, again, all online. You can see that there's a variety, there's theory in there, quite a bit of theory within these courses. In a couple of courses that are specific to academic advising, talk about different strategies in terms of advising. And so these courses can be taken in any order. There's not one that has to be taken prior to another one, and they're offered on a regular basis. And so we've not had any challenges with students saying, I'd like to get in this course, but it's full or it's not being offered. We offer these regularly, and oftentimes multiple sections per semester to meet the needs of our students. So the master's in academic advising essentially builds on the certificate. You won't have to have the certificate to pursue the master's degree, but it certainly is one path to the master's degree. It's a 30 credit hour program, again, all online. You can see some of those same courses as I mentioned for the certificate program, plus additional courses. For instance, the research methods course is one that's not required in the certificate program. A course on college student athletes, college students with special needs that actually we're in the process right now of changing the name to college students with disabilities. So we're constantly looking at how we can continue to keep our programs up to date with literature in the field and terminology in the field. And then you have one elective that you can choose from in the program. You see those below. In this program, similar to the certificate program, there's only one situation where you have to take one course ahead of another, and that is with the research methods course would need to be taken before the assessment course. The assessment course is one of the electives. So that's the only pair of courses that would have to be structured or scheduled such that you're taking one ahead of the other. The rest of them can be taken in any sequence. And what we found is that many of our master's students take one or two courses a semester, and they're able to plan that out pretty well. What's not on this screen is another aspect of this program is the culminating project, and we call it the final project. We're right now in the midst of reviewing final projects for our master's students who are preparing to graduate. The final project is an opportunity for our students during their last semester in the master's program to demonstrate what they've learned in the program, the variety of learning outcomes that we have for the program. And the way this happens is by providing our students with an opportunity to, first of all, write a philosophy of academic advising, drawing on their coursework. They create their own philosophy statement for academic advising. And then they also have the other aspect of the project. There are some options for students. One is to respond to some case studies, some academic advising case studies, drawing on the literature that has been covered in the curriculum. Another option is to create your own comprehensive advising program. To develop that, again, making sure that it's based on the literature and the information in the program. And then a third option is flexible. It's basically work with your major professor to come up with something else that is meaningful and provides a way to demonstrate what you've learned in the program. So essentially 30 credit hours, which is 10 classes, plus a final project that typically is completed the last semester of the program, is really how this program flows. Admissions requirements to the program. There's a lot more details online in terms of applications and such. But what we look for is a 3.0 minimum GPA for in your last couple of years of undergrad, or your last 60 credit hours. So we recognize that frequently, maybe not frequently, but there are times where maybe the first or second year of college might not have been your best effort in some cases. And so we try to look at the last couple of years and look at your academic progress at that point. We do accept applications year round. So, we welcome them at any time. They actually come directly to us relatively quickly, and I'm able to take a look at them and consult with faculty as needed and make some decisions quickly. And so I would say that if you submit an application, you could probably expect to hear within 2 or 3 weeks, because we act on those quickly. There's no deadline for applying. I do need to say that if you were to submit your application during the first week of classes in the fall, likely you would need to wait and start that next semester. I mean, those kinds of things, of course, are something to consider as well. So, but that's the basic admission requirements. Your application will consist of, we're asking for a professional resume or a curriculum vitae as part of your application, so we can see what kinds of experiences you've had and kind of learn a little bit more about your background. And then I would say that this next piece is quite important, and that's a 1 to 2 page statement of your goals and professional experiences. And you can see the bullet points here. We want to hear a little bit about your career goals, your professional goals, why and how will being in our academic advising program help facilitate those goals. We'd like to hear your perspective on that. Why are you interested in this case? I pulled this from the graduate certificate website. Why are you interested in pursuing the certificate or the master's degree? What is it that has piqued your interest? And it's interesting what we hear. I mean, just recently, I received an application from a prospective student, and the student happened to have completed his undergrad degree at K-State and actually named his academic advisor as the reason why he wanted to pursue a degree in academic advising. And it was because she was such a great academic advisor that he wanted to follow. He wanted to be the next, and he named her. And I knew her personally, so I was able to share that with her, and it really made her day. And sometimes people decide to pursue this degree for other reasons. I mean, I think sometimes I hear the opposite sometimes. I wish I would have had a better academic advisor. And so I want to come in and I want to give, and I want to do better than maybe what I experienced. But whatever the reason is for you, we'd like to hear that. We want to hear a little bit about your leadership experiences, your work ethic, any type of professional experiences that you've had that relate to what you're pursuing. And then there's some additional expectations for international students. I won't go into detail here, but if you would be an international student, we can certainly meet via Zoom or email and talk about some of the details where that's concerned as well. We also ask for unofficial transcripts as part of the application, or official. Most people start off with the unofficial, and that's how we are able to see kind of what your grades have been prior to pursuing this degree. So at this point, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Dr. Troxel. We'll talk a little bit about the doctoral.
Thank you, Dr. Kraft. Let me address one of the questions in the chat before we move on to the PhD. So The question is kind of what are the job prospects for someone coming out with a certificate or a master's degree. And, you know, we know that higher education is in a lot of going through a lot of change right now. What we know from talking with our members is on most campuses, academic advising is being elevated as a result of the COVID challenge rather than put under the rug. Imagine, you know, every single college student in the world going online for a year and having to have guidance and having to have advice. So there are a lot of universities who have continued to hire academic advisors even when they've not hired other types of positions. Now, the challenge is that every institution is a little different with what they require from applicants for certain positions in academic advising. Some are entry-level positions, some don't require any experience, some don't require any postgraduate post-baccalaureate degree, some do. And so if you're if you're not yet an academic advisor and you're going into a graduate program, we have a number of students currently in our program who work hard to kind of make connections with academic advisors that are in their area. As NACADA, they join NACADA. It's a wonderful network to get to know people because the challenge is that you have a graduate degree and no experience, but our courses are designed to give you practical experience. I'm teaching the assessment course right now. Excuse me, for example, and they are actually doing an assessment project on something related to learning that they can take into a job interview and say, I know how to make the translation between my world as a third grade teacher and a future world as academic advisor. I've got a student right now who works as a solar panel salesperson. And that student is working hard to make the connection between kind of the training and professional development for their salespeople and the training professional development for academic advisors. So you have to work a little harder to kind of make the translation between what your context is now and moving forward in an academic advising world. But it's all about kind of digging deeper, making connections, networking. NACADA is a great place to do that. Our College of Ed is a great place to do that. And so the job prospects are good. You could go on the NACADA website, for example, and see what jobs are currently available around the world in academic advising. We post job postings there.
Maybe I'm going to jump in real quick as you're
Yeah,
on. The question just came in about whether or not students could join NACADA even if they're not currently employed at a university. And so the answer to
absolutely.
that is absolutely. And so I just want to make sure while you were talking about that, since that question popped up, that we went ahead and addressed that.
You're the teacher and want to stay in that role. Can you do academic advising as side gig? That's pretty, I gotta admit, that's pretty rare. It may happen and I don't know about it, but the connections between kind of like high school counselors and academic advisors is strong. Those transitions between, there may be some institutions that hire part-time. I'm just not aware of them right now, but because it's a very challenging role that you kind of, just like a teacher is, that you kind of want to be an all in. Right now, we do not have a practicum in the master's program. That's being talked about a lot, but a lot of our students find their own ways to connect with our global network and find ways to get experience within that. So yeah, people kind of soak it in. But yeah, NACADA is an individual an individual membership. It's not expensive at all. And so really recommend you do that. Let me talk briefly about the new PhD program. We're so excited about this. Just began. Our first cohort is in their summer, fall, spring. They're in their third semester of course. This is a cohort-based program. I'll talk about that in a minute. but it's a PhD program, very research and theory based, but also practical. All of our current students in the cohort are working academic advisors and advising administrators, so they're in the field. This is generally students who are working full-time and working on their doctorate, which is a very common thing in a practitioner-oriented kind of doctorate program. So it's about 90 hours post-baccalaureate. So if you have 30 hours in a master's program, then it's another 60 in or so in the doctoral program. That kind of varies on dissertation hours, of course, but it is a sub-plan under our counseling and student development program. It is a cohort model, unlike our certificate and master's program, where you can take whatever, whenever, and kind of work it into your own schedule. We find in higher education that, especially in doctoral programs, cohorts are really successful. It's a hefty program. It's challenging. It's amazing and wonderful. And those students work together. Currently, I saw one of the earlier questions was, what's the number on the doctoral cohort? Right now we have 12 students, but it's going to be somewhere. It depends on the applications and who kind of kind of qualifies, and so we'd probably go up to 15 maybe or so. Some of the classes are the cohort only, and some of the classes are along with some of our other higher ed students. And so we try to keep that a very tight number. The courses are offered through K-State Online, so they're both synchronous and asynchronous. We have a number of, let me give you, for example, this cohort that's going now, that started last summer, they hold every Tuesday night. Every Tuesday evening available for either coursework or cohort meetings. Sometimes in a semester, the faculty will want to meet with them, and they know Tuesday night's the night. For example, monthly, we have a cohort meeting. The first Tuesday of every month, we have a cohort meeting. We do professional development, we do team building, we do collaborative conversations with the faculty. And then, so that's all online. And then for the first 3 summers, so the cohort starts in the summer. For the first 3 summers, we have a week. We were hoping that it would be in person in Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. Last year and this year, obviously, for obvious reasons, we've been online. But we hope next summer will be in person in Manhattan. So students are responsible for coming together for that week in July. The dates for the next cohorts summers will be announced very soon. So before you would even apply to the program, you would know which date in July of the first 3 summers is required. So that's a really important date. They take 2 courses a semester, 2 courses a term for 7 semesters. So they started in 2020 in the summer. Our next cohort will start in 2022 in the summer. So summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring, summer is coursework. And then we move into preliminary exams, and then we move in to dissertation work. Go ahead, Dr. Kraft, thank you. So on those first Tuesday sessions and other times, we do professional development, we connect with NACADA, we collaborate with major professors and other faculty. We have these regular interactions. I'm talking with students now about research projects that we're getting involved in with the Center for Research, and just lots of opportunity to publish, present, and to really get into the scholarly work of advising. And I might add, at this point, we're about to launch a series of information sessions specifically about our doctoral program. in April and May and probably June. So all of you who are interested today, we'll just kind of keep an eye out on the websites or send us your email address and we'll be sure. So we'll have these information sessions coming up this spring and summer that are specifically about our PhD program. The requirements, the admissions requirements are very similar to our master's program with a couple of exceptions. One is, looking for reactions here, we do not require the GRE for our PhD program. We do require a scholarly essay. So we'll ask you to write an original essay on some critical issue in academic advising, drawing on some literature. And this kind of is intended to let us know what you're curious about, what you're interested in, and the kinds of things that you want to kind of tackle throughout the most wonderful and challenging degree in higher education, really. The applications will be due on December 1st of 2021, and the cohort begins in the summer. And we have a number of sessions, obviously, leading up to summer. So let me stop there. Is there so deadlines to apply? We could kind of, I guess we can kind of hit some of the big questions, but in a minute. But first, let me turn it back over to Dr. Kraft, and then I think we'll get to other
And I will
questions.
go ahead and answer just a couple now since I've had a chance to read through them as you were talking. So just a reminder about that in terms of application deadlines, there really are not, except that if you're wanting to start at a given semester, you want to get it in time for us to review it in time for you to get started in that semester. And so if you're wanting to start in August, mid-August, you'll want to, I would say, get your application in no later than mid-July, to provide time for us to review that. I want to address a couple of other things before we move on here, and some we'll address here in a couple of slides. But someone asked about whether the courses are asynchronous or synchronous, and Pam shared exactly right. Most of them are asynchronous. However, what I'm seeing is a shift to adding some additional optional synchronous components to some of these courses. So it kind of depends on the faculty member, but there are a number of faculty in the program who have asynchronous courses with optional synchronous sessions throughout for an opportunity to talk. So it really just kind of depends on the faculty, depends on the course. So I just wanted to address that as well. Let me go ahead and move forward, and then we can get back, when we get here to the end, Pam can catch us up on all the questions that maybe we've missed that she hasn't answered. And Pam, thank you. You're doing a great job of managing the chat. Appreciate that. So we want to support you. It's not just about us. It's not just about us saying, okay, here's coursework. We're trying to do, we're designing learning experiences that we hope and we believe are helpful and going to prepare you for the work that you want to do, but we want to provide a lot of support for you as well. And I want to give a shout out to Global Campus, to those on K-State Online who help and do a lot of support, help support our online students in a variety of ways. So you would get a lot of support through that area of campus, as well as through our own department and our faculty. Every student, every master's and doctoral student would be assigned a major professor and advisor, and essentially certificate students are as well, but they just move through so quickly. A lot of times that interaction doesn't last very long, but you would be assigned your own advisor in the program, and we would do our best to support you, to challenge you along the way, to help mentor, that type of thing as well. And there are other resources on campus that can be accessed via distance. You don't have to be here to do that. We have the Counseling Center on campus as a resource. We have technology resources, career resources. So you name it, our goal is to help support. I don't want anyone to think that, oh, these are online programs, so they won't think about us outside of class. That's definitely not true. We care about you no matter how far away you live from Manhattan. People have asked about finances. Excellent questions. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of details in some of these answers. And so we'll do the best, again, to either address these verbally or in the chat. But if you take a look at the screen, There's a link there that you can click on as well for some information. Their financial aid is not available to certificate students. It's only available for students pursuing a degree. But we do encourage students who are in the master's or doctoral program to apply for various sources of financial aid. We're here to help guide you and direct you. If you sent an email and said, please, you talked about this in the webinar, but I don't remember, I didn't get a chance to write it down, contact one of us and say, can you share some specifics with me about how I can pursue some financial aid? So there is some available. I would say many, if not most, of our students in these programs are on some form of financial aid or another. So just know that that's available. I want to share we wanted to share a short video of one of our students, former student. She's since graduated, just to give you a sense as to what her experience in the program was like.
For students that are wondering, what's their next step? For me, it took a lot of years to determine that. And I finally figured out, I'm researching careers and I'm doing this and looking into development for students. And this was the answer to what it was. Every time I wanted to know something, I sent an email. And really that was really one of the driving forces as to why I decided to attend, because it was just such, it was really personal and they really cared. I'm the type of person that likes to be in the class with the professor up front, and I actually really feel like I had that experience with the global campus. I know several of my professors and I feel the real connection with them. So the global experience for me has been really almost better than in the classroom because there was so much contact. I feel that it's really been, I've been a part of the family. I want to get as much academic advising experience as possible. I really enjoy student development, and that was a big part of our program. So lots of our classes really focus on theory and development. And for me, that was important because it lets you get to the heart of the student. One of the things that I was able to do that I really like is attend the NACADA conference. So I met several of my professors there, really made connections there. On campus, because I was in the program, I was also able to create and work with one of our provosts to actually do an assistantship in academic advising. Halfway through the program, my father passed away. And I needed some time, and he gave me the time that I needed. For some, they might have stopped and taken a break. And because of their care, because he really just allowed me what I needed. And so I didn't stop, I kept going and I finished. And so for me, that said a lot. It said a lot about who they are as just a family, as Kansas State, and how much they care about their students. There can be challenging times. And so just the fact that they made sure that I had everything I needed all the time. I think because of that and their partnership, even with NACADA, really makes it something that students love. And so this distance education at just a world-renowned university, for me, highly respected. You can't get much better at all.
I've seen that video many times and I love watching it over and over again. It's just great
over and over. Like,
over and over.
Yeah. She was in two of my classes. She was amazing.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad she mentioned one thing. She came right out and mentioned that maybe we alluded to it. Maybe you mentioned it, Wendy, and I missed it. But the faculty, we attend the NACADA conferences as well, and it's a great opportunity to get together. We have a K-State reception at the annual conference every year, and just some great opportunities to connect. I know there have been several more questions that have come in, and so I guess Pam, maybe you can help highlight the ones first if you want to unmute, if there's some that we've missed that have come in that you'd like for us to respond.
Okay, I don't know how to address the difference between advising in middle school and the difference between middle school advising and college, university.
Yeah.
There was also something about a stipend for the doctoral program.
Yep.
And I'm a little fuzzy on the tuition right now, whether that COVID discount's going to continue or where we're at with tuition rates. So
let me hit the first two, because I saw those as well, and I highlighted those. So the question was, I do academic advising in a middle school. Can you speak to the differences may look like compared to working in colleges and universities? It depends on what your role is in the middle school. Do you get to know your students? Do you get to know all about them, what their motivations are, you know, what their struggles are? And does that help inform how you kind of guide them through their academic journey in middle school? If so, then it's very similar to what you find at colleges and universities. If maybe you can stop sharing,
Yeah.
unless, yeah, and so we can kind of see bigger people.
Good.
Thanks. And so, you know, yeah, exactly. So if you do that, then it's very similar, just with 19-year-olds and 45-year-olds and returning military but a lot of some places, both in middle schools and colleges and universities, their academic advisors or counselors just release holds and tell you what to take next semester. We don't consider that truly academic advising. We consider that kind of clerical. So we're very much proponents of advisors as educators, along with faculty and teachers, and caring about the whole person. Another question was about, is there a housing or travel stipend for the required session in the summer? No, I'm sorry, there is not. It's just a part of being a part of this program. And so you know, there are a lot of doctoral programs out there where in my doctoral program, I, you know, traveled in the snow uphill both ways, you know, kind of thing. You know, 3 times a week to 2 cities over. But so it is, we kind of, full disclosure, what's required. Now, we do have a lot of opportunities. We've not been in person yet, I admit, but before we were locked down, K-State has a wonderful conference program in the residence halls that those are available. This group, this semester or this summer, if we were going to be in person, they had scoped out some B&Bs that they were going to share the costs, and they've gotten really close. And so there are a lot of creative ways to do that. But yeah, you would build that into your requirements. A final one I want to address about the PhD program is about course equivalencies. So courses you've taken in your master's program that you think might apply to your PhD program. And mostly in higher education, you can't double dip. If you got credit for, and Dr. Kraft, please correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the time, if you got credit for that course as part of a master's degree, you can't also get credit for that as part of a PhD degree. There might be, you know, you might have taken a doctoral level course that might apply to something, and that's a very individual analysis that Dr. Kraft and I would do with you if you're interested. You want to add anything to that, Dr. Kraft?
No, I think that's good. It is kind of confusing sometimes to think about, because we kind of take a whole chunk of 30 hours of master's degree credit and just transfer it over without kind of a one-to-one correspondence with courses, if that makes sense. We just say, okay, 30 hours, there you go.
It's kind of like those states.
So really,
yeah, I was just going to say it's very relevant, like to states that have associate degree articulations into baccalaureate, where, you know, you kind of, some states take that entire associate's degree into a baccalaureate, same kind of thing.
Yeah. So, but there, we also have students, I was just speaking with one a couple of days ago, who even beyond has a master's degree, but took some additional graduate credit beyond that. And so she was asking about a few of those courses. Now that's what Dr. Troxel was just describing as those courses, since they weren't embedded in her master's degree. Certainly, if they're equivalent to you know, one of our courses, we'd look at transferring that in. So that certainly works. Someone asked, okay, Pam, here, I thought I was ready to answer a question and Pam beat me to it. She's just too fast. Thank you, Pam. And it looks like the question about the tuition rate has been answered as well by Brittany. So now I need to go back to the chat and see what we're missing. Or Pam, maybe you can let us know if there's something that we haven't seen yet.
You know, back to the kind of the does this transfer issue. A thing that you can do right now is gather all your syllabi from all of your courses. If you are interested in having a course, having a course transfer or be an equivalency, then we would need to see the syllabus, not just that you took it. We would need to kind of compare that syllabus to our syllabus for that course that you're trying to get a transfer. So some students go like, I don't have any of that left. Well, it kind of, now's the time to go see if you can dig it up or find it, because I mean, our accrediting agencies require that kind of deep review.
And it's okay to contact your former professor and say, do you have I mean, I get contacted off and on by students who, I took your class 6 years ago. Do you still have a copy of the syllabus? And I do my best with that. But yeah, so that's really good. And I had another question I was going to answer, and then I got all excited about looking at course syllabi.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
This no, you're not. It's not your fault. Someone asked whether or not the certificate classes are offered during the summer. Yes, they are. Certificate, master's classes, summer, fall, spring, regular offerings. Like and like I said, rest assured, we've to my knowledge, we've never had to turn anyone away. We've created second sections in some cases when we've had a demand for certain courses at a certain time. So we do our best to plan to meet the needs of the students in the program. Dr. Troxel, were you going to say something as well? Or Pam, is there something we're missing?
I was just not aware whether there's any kind of a military discount in addition to everyone getting it at the in-state rate. Is anybody else aware of that?
I don't know. Brittany, do you know anything?
Diane or?
I don't believe we currently offer military discounts, but we do have Dominic Barnes, who is our military student services coordinator, and we're happy to connect you with Dominic, and he'd be able to let you know more information about resources that may be available to you through the military. But currently our tuition rate is set at $495.50 per credit hour, and that tuition rate is locked in through the summer of 2021.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. I've seen this one a couple of times, and maybe you answered it, Pam, online, but if you start a certificate, then decide to continue to the master's, do you need to reapply?
Yeah, and Pam said, yeah,
Oh,
you would.
yeah.
Go ahead, Pam. Why don't you go ahead and take that? Are you there, Pam? You want to go ahead and describe that, since I know you typed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I unmuted myself. Yes, you do need to reapply if you applied for the certificate and now you want to get the master's. There is another application that you need to fill out. You could just go ahead and apply for the master's though, and then add the certificate on. We can easily do that since you're just going to be taking the courses anyway.
Thank you.
Question about getting a job on the East Coast. You know, it is start to dig into the open positions. Again, on the NACADA website, those are posted by region, by state, and so kind of get a feel for what it looks like. It'll be really interesting, and I don't know what's going to happen here as COVID starts to subside. Everybody, a moment of prayer, but whether institutions will start hiring remote academic advisors. There are some institutions where everybody's already remote, the APUS system, for example, but some people are place bound, and so you have to kind of dig into, you know, go find the colleges and the universities that are within your region, dig into their online position announcements and start to get a feel for that. How long does it typically take for the PhD students to finish up and graduate after the 7 consecutive semesters? Great question. So after their 7 semesters of coursework, then the next semester is preliminary exams. And so that for this group will be fall of 2022, I believe. And so they'll have a semester to individually work on their preliminary exams. Some people call them doctoral exams. And then that leads right into their dissertation research. So generally it's probably about another year after the end of coursework. That's generally very few do it in much less than a year following the last semester of coursework, and some it takes a little more depending on your research design. If you got a longitudinal study that takes a little more time, then it takes a little bit more time. But you have kind of 7 years to get it finished, but we're getting you done with coursework in about 2.5, 3 at the most. And then you're working with your major professor and your supervisory committee to do your really important dissertation research.
Good. Thank you.
Really,
So there was a question, how does diversity,
yeah,
equity, and
great. Thanks, Christy.
Yeah, how does that play a role in our program? I think the short answer to that, and I'll elaborate a little bit, is that it plays a significant role. We attend to issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think, in the majority of our coursework. And we also have one particular course that some would say is kind of dedicated to that. I've seen a number of different
Two,
models.
actually, yeah.
Models might be a strong word. That, yeah, yeah, you're right. In different higher ed or student affairs programs, and one way that people tend to approach this, or the faculty approach this, is to have it embedded in a variety of coursework, have those issues discussed in a variety of courses. Another model is to have a standalone course or two, and then a third model is a combination of both. And I would say we're kind of like that third model. We certainly attend to it directly in a couple of our courses, but those conversations happen, and I likely all of our courses. Probably even research methods.
I was just going to say that, Dr. Kraft. I teach research methods and the assessment of academic advising course. And there are major issues with data, major issues with sampling, major issues with predictive analytics, yeah. So we address bias and discriminatory systematic practices, unintentional consequences of curriculum. Kinds of things, for example, in our research methods and assessment of advising courses as well. So it's embedded throughout. Absolutely.
Yep. So Suzanne asked, can you tell me about an online class? I mentioned briefly this a little bit earlier, but let me go a little bit deeper into this. And Wendy, if you want to jump on, you can as well. I think so we use a system called Canvas as our learning management system. And I would say most, if not all, have active discussion boards as part of the course experience. Weekly online discussions that are framed in different ways. And most of those would be asynchronous kinds of discussions. In other words, we're asking, maybe a faculty member would say, I'm asking you to post 3 substantive posts drawing on the course readings during the course of the next 7 days. Within a week, I want you to post a certain number of posts. So I think you see a lot of those kinds of things happening. There are some courses that have some pre-recorded mini lectures that are available to students. There are some courses that have live synchronous. I'm not going to call them lectures, because I think more often than not, they'd probably be discussions more than lectures, where students and the faculty member can engage synchronously at the same time. Sometimes those are required, sometimes those are optional. I think what you'll find, and this is what I continue to hear from students and find myself as a faculty member teaching some of these courses, is that you'd be amazed at how well you get to know your peers with the online discussion boards and the optional Zoom sessions at times, or the required Zoom sessions. It's not uncommon for me to start a semester and open up the introduction welcome board, and people start posting their introductions, and for me to see, oh, I'm so glad you're in class, telling another student, so glad to see you in class again this year or this semester. And so I think, even though it's not a formal cohort with regard to certificate and master students, between the discussion boards and the online Zooms, and sometimes there's even group work involved outside of class, where you might be paired up with someone to write a paper or do a project. And so I think there are a variety of ways to get to know each other, and a variety of ways that those courses are handled. Wendy, what am I missing?
Nothing. We bring it all, and like everything in our toolbox, we bring to the online environment. One of the things that I really enjoy doing is identifying from my classes those who are currently academic advisors in higher education, and kind of constructing the discussion groups so that there are a couple of current advisors in with the 7 and out of whatever that who are not yet advising. And so the students help each other with the context and kind of work together. I host open office hours a couple of times a semester, and it's fun to see. It's kind of sad to see that not everyone takes advantage of them, because what are you going to tell a student as an academic advisor? Go to your professor's open office hours. But then those who want to be advisors don't come to open office hours, all of them. And so the ones I really enjoy are those, I can think of one in particular who's not yet an advisor, but is soaking up everything he can get to have practical communication with those who are in the business right now. And I have a feeling he's going to get a job pretty quickly because he's got lots of experiences that he has made happen for himself, and taken advantage of his education. Graduate school is different than undergrad. You take responsibility for your own learning in different ways with that. And that's what we'll expect as faculty. But this group of faculty is responsive. We care. We want to know what's going on in your life, if it's affecting kind of your work. You're not on an island, and we have lives too, and we're humans, and we have a lot of grace for each other.
That's great. That's a great answer. Thanks, Wendy. Ryan, your question about class sizes is a really good one. And so I'm gonna share kind of a couple of different thoughts here about this. It's not really uncommon, and don't be scared by this, because I'm going to finish the statement here, but it's not uncommon to have a class size of maybe 25 to even close to 40. When we have class sizes that large, we structure them with frequently an additional instructor, and we typically structure them where they're broken into different groups. So it's almost like large teaching has 40 students enrolled in the course, but there's a co-instructor, and they both are working with 2 small groups during the course, 2 separate small groups. So so essentially it becomes a class of it feels like a class of just 10 students in each, if that makes sense. So we attend to those issues. We think it's really important to make sure that we don't have too many students enrolled in a class so that the quality could potentially suffer. That's something that we pay great attention to. So I appreciate the question. What else?
There's a question about
questions do we have here? Are the summer courses faster paced? Yeah, Pam.
Yeah, definitely. A question about course equivalency. So someone asked about, does K-State use the transfer evaluation system currently provided through College Source if syllabi aren't available? Is that just an undergrad thing, or does that work for grad courses as well? Do you know, Dr. Kraft?
I've never heard of that. So if it's, maybe Diane can say something. So my guess is it's for undergrad.
That's what I'm
Diane,
thinking
Brittany,
too.
any thoughts? Or Pam, maybe you know?
I'm also unfamiliar with that, and I actually advise a student to ask it out loud. I was asked personally, and I'm not familiar with that.
So what it might be, I mentioned articulation agreements. Some states have articulation agreements from across universities. I'm gonna do some digging on that, as will Dr. Kraft, I'm sure. So before we answer wrong or right, we'll just have, so the answer right now is, in the graduate programs, we do not currently use it. We do it one-on-one, one-to-one, so.
Right. This is Pam. The only I'm not familiar with it either. I just know that it used to be Ken, but now Christy will be the one that you need to send her a syllabi, and she will make the decision about whether that's the equivalent of our course. The only institution that we have an agreement with are some of the courses at Brigham Young University, because there are certain courses that we've worked out with them that correspond to our courses, and we accept them for transfer.
Yeah, I think the question here is if the syllabus is not available, there's a system that seems to have a repository of syllabi for certain courses. I have I'll do some digging on that as well, Dr.
I
Kraft.
have a
Yeah.
feeling it's not, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that there's nothing at the graduate level for that. That's my sense. That's my guess. But when you do have, if you do have access to your syllabus, you know, like Pam said, you can send it in and I typically then would share it with the faculty member who teaches the course and ask that faculty member, you know, does this look equivalent to the course that you teach? So sometimes 2 or 3 of us might take a look at a given syllabus to see if it looks equivalent. And, you know, if it is, and if we can give you credit for that, we will. I mean, you know, that's certainly something that we pay attention to. So other questions? How many courses may be transferred in? Okay, so Brittany and Diane, you might need to help me with this if you think, I'm thinking 9 credit hours and up to 10. Is that correct?
It's for a master's, it's up to 10, but it's really 9 because we don't have their 9 credits.
It's really 9.
And for the certificate, it's only 6. So if you were trying to get both of them at the same time, you'd be limited to 6.
Good. Thank you. Good. Any other questions? This has been fun. I hope you all, maybe I hope fun is the word that you would use to describe it as well, and informative. Any other questions from anyone?
We do have a couple of questions on here. One person asked if they're still wanting to remain a teacher. Would this program make sense for me? Should I look into a different program at K-State?
I'm not sure. I hate to say we'd love to have, I don't think it would be probably the best program for you because we prepare our students to work in a higher education environment with college and university students. And so as much as I'd love to get to know you and say, yeah, come. The honest and true and fair answer to that is we don't prepare our students to work in those settings. It's all about college and university student development and advising. So yeah, unfortunately, I had to get that answer to someone else within the last month. And I cringe when I have to say, no, it's probably not the best program for you, but that's the honest answer.
And we have another question that's pretty similar to that, and you may have already covered it, but they're wondering if what they learn in the certificate courses, would it benefit them as a high school counselor?
Okay, that's the one I just tried to answer. So maybe I was looking at the wrong one when you were, hopefully I answered the right question previous to this. The answer to that would be philosophically, yes, but practically speaking, probably no, because again, we're working with college and university students and not high school students. We're preparing our students to work at college and university level.
But one is, yeah, one is an appropriate program if I want to make a teacher. And then this one was, if I'm a counselor, would the courses benefit me? And I would say your first answer was kind of dead on. The second one is a really interesting one because with the emergence of dual credit, dual enrollment, transition from high school to college, kind of knowing each other's world is really beneficial. And so if you have the space to kind of, if you're kind of a wonderful, learner like a lot of us are, I would say that would absolutely benefit you, whether it's required of you as in your current position is kind of up to you in your district. But it would give you wonderful insight probably into what especially your juniors and seniors are looking for as they transition, and it would be a really interesting skill set to have in your world probably.
Thanks for your perspective, Wendy. Appreciate you sharing that. Good. Someone asked about admissions percentage for the master's. We really don't. That's not something that honestly, we don't really think of or collect that type of data, if that makes sense. We just like to see, at this point, we haven't capped the number of people that we admit when people are admissible. we've been admitting them. And so, yeah, I don't know that there's much else that I would share or about that, but thanks for that question.
I've been digging into the transfer equivalency system website while we're talking here. Speaking of multitasking, it doesn't say anything about graduates, but it doesn't specifically say that it doesn't include graduate. All their examples are undergrad, but we're going to dig some more into that for sure.
Well, it is 9 o'clock, so I think
Central Time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I think we probably should go ahead and start wrapping it up. I don't know, Brittany or Diane. I want to thank both Brittany and Diane, and thank Pam and Wendy. Thank you for all of the time and effort in working with the webinar tonight.
Yeah, and thank you, Dr. Kraft and Dr. Troxel, for that wonderful presentation. And I also want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight. If you're ready to apply, please visit our website at online.ksu.edu and select how to apply for detailed instructions. And as a reminder, everyone who's registered for the webinar will be receiving a recording via email as soon as it's available. Finally, if you have any additional questions that we didn't cover tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out. We also want to be sure to let everyone know that we do have application fee waivers available specifically to those applying to the master's program. So feel free to reach out to us at online@ksu.edu when you're ready to apply, and we would be able to provide you with a code. So again, thank you everyone for joining us here tonight, and have a great rest of your night.
Take care, everyone.